The three-part assertion message we've just discussed is an excellent basic tactic for business communication, but it would be simplistic to say that this is all you need to know about assertiveness tactics. With the three-part formula as a foundation, let's look in more detail at assertiveness tactics. What happens, for example, if you encounter some resistance on the part of the person you're speaking with? In the dialogue we just presented, what should Nicole have done if her employee disagreed with her, or even aggressively disagreed with her? The truth is, some people just don't like to take feedback. They see things a certain way, and they aren't in a hurry to make changes in that. If anybody's going to make changes, they want it to be you. But an assertive person knows how to deal with that. If you're dealing with an inflexible individual, a good tactic is a little inflexibility on your own part. This means calmly and firmly repeating a short, clear statement of your needs over and over until the other person gets the message. If Nicole's employee says, "I didn't create an unrealistically short deadline," Nicole should say, "In the future, I want you to give yourself more time." If the employee says, "Tell the client to calm down," Nicole should say again, "In the future, I want you to give yourself more time." It's just a matter of repeating the same statement in exactly the same way until the other person gets the message, regardless of any excuses, diversions, or arguments. Keep calm and stick to the point. Always respect the rights of the other person, and always ask yourself these questions. How can you express your message more clearly? How can you be more specific about what you have to say? How can you avoid being drawn off course by the other person's diversions and distractions? To this day, there has never been a better strategist and tactician of assertiveness than Dale Carnegie. He may not have used that exact word, but he had a deep understanding of assertiveness and how to put it into action. And the best proof of that comes from simply looking at what Dale Carnegie actually had to say. In most business discussions, a prerequisite for success is assertiveness without aggressiveness by either party. To achieve this, Dale Carnegie suggests beginning the conversation with praise and honest appreciation. For what? For almost anything. In short, start on the positive note. What you say is certainly the most obvious means of achieving this, but it's also helpful to meet in pleasant surroundings and at a convenient time of day. Although it's sometimes suggested that meal times are a positive setting for a business discussion, this is rarely a good idea. Unless you're able to meet in a first-rate restaurant, eating establishments are not a good environment for serious talk, especially if the venue is the company cafeteria or the pizza parlor across the street. Instead, schedule a meeting for early in the day. And for a very important meeting, you should also try to schedule a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning. Monday mornings are often a hassle for everyone, and late in the week, there's generally a loss of energy and focus. Before your meeting, think carefully about the positive note on which you'll begin. There's no need to turn this into a speech or formal statement. Just mention something that will create a positive vibe from the outset. If you haven't had previous contact with the other party, say something positive about the organization, about a colleague whom you both know, about the local sports team, or almost anything with the possible exception of the weather. Ideally, you'll be able to refer to some successful project in the past that the two of you worked on together. But again, that's not really necessary. The main thing is to say something, anything, that has a positive tone. If all else fails, express appreciation for having the meeting set up. If the purpose of the meeting is to discuss a mistake or disagreement, move toward this topic indirectly. This indirect approach is another of Dale Carnegie's very insightful principles. As Carnegie so well understood, it's a mistake to confuse being assertive with being merely blunt or tactless. To simply come out and accuse someone of wrongdoing or incompetence is almost always a poor tactic. This just forces the other party into a defensive mode where very little can be accomplished. As a general rule, it's a good idea to talk about your own mistakes before criticizing another person. When giving criticism, an assertive approach focuses on future solutions. Mistakes in the past should be seen as signposts pointing in the direction of better performance in the future. And the emphasis should always be on objective experiences and criteria rather than on someone's internal shortcomings. Imagine, for example, that a sales manager is having a talk with one of her reps. The manager is very concerned about the rep's recent performance. "Your productivity is way down lately," she says. "Why is this happening? What's the matter with you?" From the rep's point of view, a question like that is very difficult to answer. The question is far too open-ended and personal. It refers to who the rep is rather than what the rep has done or not done. "What's the matter with you?" raises issues that are best taken up in a psychotherapy session. It's not the kind of language that should come up in a business discussion. For a much more productive approach, the manager might say something like this: "Last month you were one of our top producers, but lately things seem to have slowed down a little. I know how that can happen because I've seen fluctuations like that in my own work. Can you think of anything that might have caused this change?" Here, the emphasis is on what actually happened rather than on the deep underlying issues. Notice also that the manager creates empathy with the rep by referring to her own similar experiences. This is not weakness on the manager's part. It's assertive behavior in the best sense of the word.